What the hell was that noise? I was lifting the bed and I went over to the shop door just to double check something, and I heard this terrible popping noise, like something just snapped. But I don't see what it was. Maybe something was just stuck. What is going on? I went to lift this up, PTO's on, the whole cylinder popped out. What? I mean, I'm guessing that's not good. I'm putting it down. So I got out of the truck, hit the PTO button, lifted, and I just hear that. I just hear this loud pop, and I start looking around. I don't see anything. I go to lift it again, and I mean, it looks like it completely came out of these threads. Like it just sheared it off. I mean, I don't get it. This is empty. So I mean, it couldn't have bumped anything, like something. I don't know, man. Just trying to show you what happened. Not really sure what to do. It looks like an O-ring or something came out, so I wonder if that's part of the problem. It slipped. I truly don't know. I just don't know how it literally ripped out of the threads. That part doesn't make sense to me. Well, y'all, as promised, I broke it. So if you're new to the channel, we are doing a beta test for MAXXD, the trailer manufacturer who also makes the dumpster roll-off system. We are testing their newest roll-off truck bed design, and with that, we're putting it through its paces. But that was a bit unexpected. Of all the parts that I thought would break on the truck, that was the last one. After talking to MAXXD though, they did say that was the only used part on the system because that specific cylinder that we broke was also used on beta test 1, which was used on a Dodge 5500, used a completely different PTO pump that we are using on the Kenworth. It does beg the question of why did it break? And we're gonna actually dive into why it probably did break, but we got to get it off the truck first. And MAXXD didn't hesitate once they heard that we broke it. The next day, they had this bad boy shipped to me. It's another cylinder, and believe it or not, these cylinders are not used on any of their trailer systems at all as of now. So to say I am eager to get it back on is an understatement. So let's get to it. This is a one-off design cylinder made for this truck bed specifically, and they get them out of Canada. So they ordered it last week, the day after I broke it, and with the holidays and everything, it did take about a week and a half since it did have to come out of Canada and the holiday weekends. Keeping this thing around at the house continues to save my back every day. Scooch. Let's not lift this higher than we need to. That'll do, donkey. That'll do. All right, so we're gonna drop this off here at this hydraulic company. They primarily make hoses, but they also do cylinders as well, or cylinder installs. But the biggest reason I'm doing it is because I just want it done by a professional. Because at the end of the day, once you actually see how these things are put together or installed on the truck, it's super simple. But I want the peace of mind that knowing if somebody else installs it, that does it all the time, and it still breaks, we can then figure out what's really going on, because I don't want to be the reason something breaks, where it's like, oh, well, did you install it right? It's super easy to put in. I'll even show you how it's done.
Just like that. Oh.
Okay, well, she's still sitting here, so that's a good thing. Let's hope she actually starts. She's been sitting here for over a week. Oh, thank God. That's the last thing I need right now. So if you had to do this in a pinch yourself, the easiest thing to do, you would be removing these plates, punching this pin through to the other side. There's another plate on that side as well. You do the same thing down here, and then you could get yourself like you know, a mini, a skid steer if it was tall enough, and you could actually just pull the cylinder right out, or you just manhandle it, you know, bear hug it and pull it out, and then you slide the new one in. Of course, you need to unhook your air hoses, or your hydraulic hoses, and you would have to bleed the whole system because there's going to be a lot of air and stuff in here. But to be honest, doing something like this shouldn't really take that long at all, and is pretty straightforward if you understand basic mechanics. But like I said, we're going to make sure it's done right. It gets a second look, and maybe we'll figure out what's wrong with this thing once we get it off the truck. So while we wait to hear back about the truck, we're gonna do a little preventative maintenance. It is that cold time of year, whoop, so we need to drop some mouse poison. When you live next to so much farmland and you've got a storage unit, it's probably one of the warmest places for a couple of mice to find, so we can't let that happen. So we're gonna set these down in some of the trenches of the empty units. And to be honest, I've never had a mouse problem out here. I've always been shocked at how few mice I do see out in this area, but we don't need to find out the hard way that that won't always be the case. Since we got a handful in there, what I'll do now is head into the shop, get a couple in there. I don't need any furry friends in here. For those that have been asking, I hear you, we're getting there. It's almost done. This is our version of what MAXXD did for us on the Kenworth. We're doing it as a little show truck for the business with the old grain truck we bought. We're getting there, getting that axle swap. Ran into some more issues, but we took a break for the holidays on it. We've kind of got another plan of attack to make sure we get this done just right. And this thing should be on the road soon, only for us to take it back off the road to probably swap out that gas motor for a nice diesel. Some guys might disagree with that, but we had an overwhelming amount of guys saying, got to get a Cummins in that. You got to get, you know, dual stacks on the back or a hood stack. I don't know what direction we're going to go with the exhaust, but regardless though, you guys tend to really want to see a diesel put in this. I just love those metal dashes with just that farm truck feel. And I think we're going to kind of mesh it all together really well. Either way, I didn't forget about it. We're still doing it. It's on my mind on the daily. It's just, well, we got to run the business too. We're not full-time YouTubers. That's all there is to it. Well, nearly 10 gallons later and we're getting somewhere. This thing lost a lot of fluid. Oh, it's cold today. The guys at the hydraulic shop got that thing off and on in a matter of no time. But they did say, hey, when you get it home, you're gonna have to add quite a bit of hydraulic fluid. It lost quite a bit. So once we did that, now we have to kind of bleed the system. And the nice thing is, on a system like this, it's not that hard. We're gonna let it warm up first because it has been sitting out here in the cold. But what we're gonna end up doing is we're gonna end up going through each one of these. I've already cracked the lines and let out a little bit of air. There's a little bit of air bubbles, that's it, in the lines themselves. But from there, we're really just gonna run this thing back and forth. You're gonna watch this go down and go up. And then once it's fully extended, I'm gonna add a little bit more. That way I know, we have enough fluid to cover the whole extension of that hydraulic, because that whole thing will fill up. And we'll run both of the winch and the hydraulics because you've obviously got hydraulic fluid in here too. Once you do that, it actually, since it has a two-way valve, it's gonna bleed itself out the air. You don't have to go cracking every line and bleeding the hydraulic itself. That is kind of the benefit of this, is we really just get to play with it for a little while and then it should be okay. I'm gonna let it warm up for a while, get itself situated, and even when we go up and down, while it's getting all that air out, it's gonna be painfully slow. Shortly after that though, we should be back in action. In the meantime, Keegan's already out running dumpsters, so we've got a full plate already today. Yeah, that's gonna take a minute. It's a little slow, but we're getting there. So, now we'll bring it back down. Look at that, right as it comes down, we're right on the mark.
Yo! Hold up! Time out! Time out!
Okay, guys, we gotta stop everything because I just came across something that I have to go get. So, Keegan's gonna finish out the rest of the day, but I'm jumping in one of the trucks, grabbing a friend's trailer, and I have to go pick this up because a big snowstorm's coming, and this is my only chance this week to get it. Dang thing's stuck in gear, but shoot, we'll get it in the shop. We'll figure it out. Forget it. Well, I got tired of looking at this thing here on jack stands, so we're gonna rob what we need off of that. Think I bought a piece of
I think it's a new toy.
a new toy? It's a new toy we're gonna cut up. But I think, yeah, we get the axle we want off of it. We get a couple spare parts, but this one came with a couple extra little goodies. Well, the snow is here. Leave it to the Midwest to be 40 degrees one day and then 12 the next with a foot of snow on the way. We gotta do our snow duties. Now that's some power. Cleared the whole driveway with it. Yep, I didn't use anything but a leaf blower, guys. Nothing but, that's all you need. This was an all-day event. If you don't live in the Midwest or in a cold climate, you probably don't realize when it snows a foot, it's throughout the whole day. So you'll go do something when it's 6 inches and you'll have to go right back and do it at the end of the day. So I was at each one of these properties at least twice, just keeping it clear as much as I could as this vicious circle. So snow's not fun. It really takes away from all the other things you could be working on, because it truly was nonstop. I have these properties here. I've got the shop. I've got one other apartment that, you know, I didn't get any footage of. That's down the road. So it's just, I'm just doing a loop the whole day. And there's about a million other things I'd rather be doing. I'm checking on our construction project real quick, but I think we should go check in with Keegan, because when I've been working on this or moving snow or impulsively buying a truck, Keegan's been running dumpsters, and I know this snow has been brutal for him. He does not like the cold. All right, Keegan, how's the last few days been since the snow started?
Cold.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Any war stories?
War stories?
What about unloading at the dump? Because we didn't spray a couple of those dumpsters down on the inside.
Yeah, I already had my first dumpster
Just-
with all the trash frozen inside of it. And sat there for 40 minutes.
That's never
Taking
fun.
it out one by one.
So there's really only one design flaw on this entire system that I'm unhappy about. Let me show you what it is. This right here, if you've ever loaded dumpsters on these cradle systems, there's typically a flare out so that you can guide the dumpster in. In this case, there's not. You've got that on the inside there and the outside here, and you've got to have this thing perfectly lined up in order to get it onto this rail.
I can fix that.
What do you think MAXXD's gonna think about this?
I didn't ask. I'm more of a beg for forgiveness type of guy.
Gotcha. I'm not sorry.
You think they're gonna be mad that I'm mutilating the design?
I think it's 50-50.
If it works, they won't be upset, right?
You'd think not.
I mean, this is just kind of how I would have done it. Actually, it is how we did it. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's exactly what we did, but one of the things we had to do was compensate for the height. These are a lot higher than the trailer. You know, your trailer tires only to here, but your semi tires to there, which is why I really did the design the way they did. Because if you keep this same height right here, all the way down, the dumpster rubs kind of funny going up. So what we did was we flared out this edge here, and then we added the guide, but we cut the guide down. It's just enough to catch the dumpster and keep it consistent all the way through. That's why we didn't have to flare up here, but had we not put this piece in, that's what I would have done. And we also bent that angle. It's essentially the trailer setup just bent down so we don't end up with another foot, and we can compensate for those tires. So, I mean, maybe that's something they could do in the final design, something closer to this, because this has worked out really well for our vintage ride. But otherwise, I'm gonna flare that bad boy out the way it is right now, so we do the least amount of welding. And then what we'll do from there is we'll weld this little, you know, triangle or whatever you want to call it, gusset right here on the edge, since we flared it out. All right, it's not pretty, but it's a beta test. Just remember that. So what I'll do is I'll cut a nice piece of metal similar to this. It's pretty even here. We've got a tape measure on it too. So what we'll do is we will get our mogul or our triangle. We'll get it right there, lined up. I'll then take it to a welder who knows how to weld really well, as much as I wish I could. Then we'll take and we'll sand all this off, and we'll have to, you know, kind of clean up this paint, because the last thing we want this thing to do is start rusting. But for now, that's kind of where we're at. I'm gonna actually dry test, make sure we get the dumpster up on here. And what I'll do is I'll try to pick it up a little uneven. That way I see if this is enough flare. I really don't want a whole lot of flare, or the thing's gonna completely just dive off the side. It's just enough to catch. And then if it doesn't work, I can always cut it off and redo it. But the goal is not to do that. So we'll dry test it, and then we'll weld everything and call it good.
It's like pretty good, dude.
Terrible.
When did you start taking classes?
Yeah, well, I'm not proud of it.
Why does it look like the weld's so cold?
So we're running the welder off 120 because the truck's pinched and 220 plugs over there, so we're making it work. We'll grind it down. We might come back with some more later, make a few more passes, make it nice and strong. But
hey, put in the comments, rate this weld, guys.
Oh no, don't rate this weld. We already know this would be on World's Worst Welds. You ever seen that? People just get roasted.
It's at least a 7, right, guys?
No, that's a 3.
Come on, dude. He could get a job probably anywhere in town.
All right, let's not show too much more of this. All right, so that's as close as I'm gonna let you get to these, but it'll work. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and test it the way it is. I'm gonna have somebody else that can weld better, weld underneath of it, give me, you know, some good beads underneath. That way it's nice and strong. We've already beat it with a hammer on both sides. It did what it needed to. Oh, well, a grinder and paint make me the welder I ain't. Yep, we know how it goes. But that should at least kind of start solving my problem with having to be perfectly lined up, and we can kind of off kilter a dumpster and it'll just guide it back on. So let's hope that's the case. In terms of that hydraulic cylinder though, I did get some crazy news that it may be savable. I'm gonna have the hydraulic company actually take it apart. What they're gonna do is they're gonna basically break it down. They said it possibly backed itself out and only the last few threads actually stripped. They have to be able to see the inside of that cylinder, take it apart. So at the end of the day, it was kind of just a maybe faulty cylinder, faulty set screw to actually keep that, you know, cylinder in place and keep it from unscrewing itself. Kind of news to me. I actually didn't realize how many threads were inside of the cylinder holding together. I guess I should have realized that it was held together by something, but yeah, kind of interesting. So if there's anything I've learned from this experience is it doesn't hurt to have a few backups, because we're talking weeks without a truck. That's just part of the business. But at the end of the day, we've got the retro truck over here, and I need to finish it because I want to get this axle off of here. So I think it's time that we just get this thing done. Level of sketch?
Pretty sketchy.
Were you a little nervous?
No.
Me crawling under there? You didn't care.
I got control.
You got the control. We knew it was going to go all right. But look at that. It actually lines up. We don't have to do anything funky. And we've got these 10 lug wheels on there, which we can then swap out for these pretty babies. A lot of trial and error to find this stupid hub and make it work. You can look back in previous videos, there is no conversion. You basically need a completely different axle if you want to go from these particular Dayton hubs on grain trucks. So certain grain trucks did not have a conversion kit that would work without a serious amount of machine work, and I just didn't want to go that route. But we got it! And that is going to look so much better in chrome to match the rear. One thing is, with this 3/4 is it has way too much power. You notice I got the 1/2-inch adapter. I got to turn down to the lowest setting, and it's still too much torque for this. So what we're going to do is we're just going to get them good and tight without going crazy, and I'll come back with an actual gauge later, or a torque wrench. We'll get them just right. That way we don't end up snapping some U-bolts. There we go. One UGA, followed by another DUGA. That's where we're going to leave it. We'll come back later and get it just right. One step closer. Look at that. Only one bar left. We got it. Look at that. She's sitting pretty now. We got to get the drag link hooked up. Take the old one off, put the new one on. A little bit of wiggling around there. We got to scavenge another part from here. But from there, we're going to flip this bad boy around, get it out of our way, and start chopping it up. We'll tuck it over there in the corner. And from there, we're going to start going after this Cummins motor. So stay tuned. Let me know what you think. Are we crazy? Should we just keep the gas motor in it, send it down the road the way it is, keep it as original as possible, although we're well past that? Or a lot of you guys want to see this turned into a Cummins. Let us know in the comments. I'll see you in the next one, guys. I know it's been a while. Bear with us. It's the winter time. Things are crazy. We got a lot of things planned. So I'll catch you in the next one. Make sure to subscribe. Keep grinding. Man, I left for 2 hours, and you went crazy on this. You couldn't help yourself.
That's my favorite part.
Tearing it apart. All right, man. I'll leave you to it. I got to get home before I get in trouble, but
You're already in.
I'm already in trouble.